guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called Being a Maid is Better Than Being a Princess. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Like a ray of sunshine, the baby's cooing brightens the spirits of those around. Count Kentrial Chalant, a man not used to dealing with children, tries his best to pick up the baby in a proper manner with the help of the nanny. At first, Marie, the young master's nanny, is unaware that she is now in the body of a character in a novel. She is simply admiring the appearance of the baby angel in front of her, thinking that she's in heaven. Momentarily, another maid approaches her and orders her to take good care of Brielle. Cluelessly, she complies with the order. Upon hearing the name mentioned, she suddenly recognized it as one from a novel she reads regularly during her work shifts. In her actual life, she works as a daycare teacher, which is how she can recall almost all the baby names featured in films or books. Furthermore, she realizes that the specific novel she's encountering is the very one she was engrossed in just before her death. Unfortunately, the Marie she now inhabits is the character designated to carry out the baby's murder. Every time she wakes up, she keeps hoping to return to the original world. However, reality is cruel. After many failed attempts, she still couldn't go back. Now that she's tired of the constant frustration, Brielle's coups catch her attention. Suddenly, the thought of the baby's state once she leaves pops into her mind. The possibility of him dying scares Marie. Eventually, she decides to stay and save him. The day Brielle shares warmth in her arms is the day she realizes her reasons for living in this novel. The child has a tragic fate. His parents died early in an accident. His uncle Kentrial decided to adopt and raise him. Marie is determined to save the little guy. She will not let him perish this time around. While working as a nanny, Marie can twist the original story and save the baby. As she grows to get attached to the baby, she wonders if the Count trusts her. One time, she was trying to help the baby turn over. When he saw her doing so, he questioned her sharply about her intentions. Fortunately, she was able to reason with him, and now she thinks she has built some trust. As soon as Kentrial arrives at the mansion from work, he heads straight to the young master. However, Marie tells him to wash his hands first. Until he finishes washing up, she proceeds to have fun with the baby. Upon finishing washing up, he proceeds to Brielle's room to check on him. Although he's bad at expressing himself, she still notices how he wants to play with the baby. Well, to be fair, his reaction is natural since it's his first time raising a child. To uplift the atmosphere in the room, Marie introduces entertaining activities for the Count and the young master to engage in together. If they continue playing like this, the storyline of the novel will unfold smoothly without any hindrances. More than anything, Brielle's safety is what matters. The goal for today is for him to practice walking. Momentarily, Marie's little sister arrives just in time when the baby is about to fall. Fortunately, Marie's little sister Ellie is able to catch Brielle from falling to the ground. Previously, Brielle was breastfed by a separate nanny named Erin. However, she couldn't take full charge of him because she had a baby as well. The original Marie was the one who stepped up to inform Brielle the successor couldn't be entrusted to just anyone. She was chosen as a nanny due to her experience taking care of her younger brother and sister. However, the young master rejected her tremendously. But when she was going to be replaced, it seemed like he began to grow attached to her. It was around this time that she reincarnated as Marie. It's probably because she's a daycare teacher in her real life. Presently, she contemplates whether the reason why Brielle changed is because of the real her or not. He seems to be a lot happier now than before. Additionally, he also plays with Ellie. Since Marie and her siblings have been living together in the Count's residence for some time now, there are times when her little sister wants to take care of Brielle. After he learned how to crawl, he always came up to her adorably while working. Now that he's 7 months old, he already knows how to shake his legs. The young master seems to grow quickly, but Kentrial has not seen him for several days. It's the end of the year, so he can't leave the palace because he's been busy adjusting the accounting books lately. Once he comes home and sees Brielle's growth, he will be surprised for sure. Upon coming home, the Count immediately heads to the young master. Since the baby is currently sleeping, he decides to watch him for a while instead. With just one look, he already notices how he lost some weight. Honestly, he'll be more surprised to see how much the young master has changed once he wakes up. By the way, Marie notices that he seems to have lost some weight. She stares at his features adoringly for a while, but he catches her shortly. The next day, Kentrial heads straight to Brielle. After seeing his growth, he realizes that no matter how busy he is with work, there is nothing more precious to him than his nephew. Momentarily, Marie puts the young master down to show that he already knows how to sit on his own. With Kentrial's astonished reaction, she comes up with an idea that both of them will like. Marie comes up with a game called the Texture Game. She wants to let Brielle experience the game that any child at his age would have played. After pondering deeply, she decides to pick the seaweed used for the game. Kentrial has extended his time spent in the mansion lately, which is a good thing. Ever since he saw the young master being able to sit on his own, he probably couldn't afford to miss any precious moments with his nephew. If they play the texture game together, the two of them might grow closer as they bond. Shortly, he follows Marie into the bathroom, and then she introduces the game. At first, he is reluctant, but seeing how happy Brielle is, he joins in. During the playtime, water splashes everywhere, and she even loses her footing, nearly tumbling down. Thankfully, Kentrial catches her, causing her heart to skip a beat since their faces are very close to each other. Afterward, Ellie approaches Marie in the middle of making a plushie. She's making each one for the kids. Her excitement after knowing that she gets to have a rabbit plushie reminds her of her surprise when she first saw the house where she lived with her little sister. It was a poor shack with rags for clothes, without a single doll. Back then, she sympathized with her younger siblings, so she used the money that she earned working at the Count's place to try to get them nicer clothes and better food. I like how she's so selfless and compassionate. What surprised Marie the most was that while she worked, the two kids were left alone in the house all by themselves. Eventually, she had to ask the Count for a favor. She wants to bring them and live with her in a dorm for servants since she can't leave them alone. Instead of providing her with a place for servants, he gave her younger siblings a room on the same floor as Brielle. After reflecting on the past, she feels grateful that she can offer something to these children, even if it's just a handmade plush toy. She is determined to work harder, drawing motivation from her sense of gratitude. The next day, Marie presents Miss Baird to the young master. His initial reaction is rather confusing, evident to the furrowing of his brows. Subsequently, Brielle grows fond of the plushie and even cuddles it. Upon witnessing this wholesome moment, Marie admits to herself that she still gets worried about him, even on this kind of peaceful day. The biggest question is, who and for what reason had instructed her to assassinate the infant master? As Kentrial reads a book about dragons to Brielle, his amused reaction is evident throughout the story, implying the young master's fondness for dragons. Despite only having read fairy tales together for a few days, it feels as though the bond between uncle and nephew has grown stronger. I'm so glad for them. They are so adorable together. It hasn't been long since the two of them started having this kind of quality time. Not long ago, Marie was away for a while since she had to go home to pick up some things. There was no one to take care of the young master, who had become much more shy these days. Eventually, at the butler's request, the Count himself stepped forward to take care of his nephew. Fortunately, Brielle is now used to his uncle, so he quickly stops throwing tantrums. However, in just 30 minutes, he already regrets his decision. Although the young master is not crying anymore, he continues causing chaos by roaming around the room. Shortly, he proceeds to the shelf and gets a book. Soon after, he starts screaming and his eyes get big, which makes the Count panic. Upon coming back to the mansion quickly, as per request by the Count, Marie manages to handle the situation calmly. It turns out that the book Brielle picked earlier was about dragons. Kentrial seems to have mistaken his excitement and concludes that he might be sick. She simply assures him that he doesn't need to worry since it's not a serious matter. This incident leads him to read a dragon storybook to the young master. However, during that time, he was surprised and agitated. Even though she knew why he reacted that way, she simply passed by with a smile to pretend not to notice his agitation. Eventually, she concludes that the reason he was so scared at that time was because of the deaths of his older brother, his wife, and Brielle's parents. Although it wasn't described in detail, it is written that an accident occurred on the way when they were coming to see the Count. Brielle almost passed away like his parents. Fortunately, he arrived just in time to save him. It's understandable for him to respond like that, especially considering what he has experienced. Maybe he carries a significant emotional burden, leaving a deep wound in his heart. Poor Kentrial has been through a lot. Observing Brielle's behavior, it's evident how he relies on Marie since he keeps crying whenever she's not around. As he's growing, he also becomes stubborn. Even when she's just beside him while folding diapers, he keeps wanting her attention. Shortly, the young master attempts to call her name, which is unexpected. After being reincarnated in a book, Brielle is the one that she always turns to. Every time she has an anxious thought, she reminds herself of the reason to keep going. She saved the young master's precious life, and as if he knows how she feels, he gives her a gift by calling her name. After sharing their wholesome moment, they proceed to play just in time for Ellie's arrival. Afterward, Marie offers the children some snacks. While she watches her younger sister attempt to feed Brielle, it's evident that she admires her older sister and aims to emulate her. In the meantime, their brother is simply observing them from the doorway. On her way to grab something to drink, Marie spots Barry, her younger brother. She tells him to stay together with Ellie and Brielle. Upon entering the room, he invites the young master to play ball with him, diverting his attention from Ellie. Confidently, he knows that they will have more fun playing together. He even proceeds to give him a teddy bear. Here goes the sibling fight! Shortly, the siblings start fighting for Brielle's attention. Fortunately, Marie comes back before things get worse. In the end, the young master crawls towards her, implying that he's choosing her over younger siblings. Following this, the young master's first birthday arrives. The celebration is simple, and the only people invited are the maids. Instead of holding a grand party, Kentrial celebrates among the people in the manor. Instead of fancy lights and food, a nutritious meal is specially served for Brielle, and instead of having high nobles as guests, Ellie and Barry are invited. This celebration is just right, since, aside from the fact that spending a birthday surrounded by strangers will surely be uncomfortable, the young master seems to be genuinely happy at this simple moment. For Barry, being invited to a noble's party is something that he couldn't even dream of before. Shortly after, it's time to blow out the candle. Kentrial wants to blow the candle together with Marie, so he instructs her to come near her. The thought of being so close to him makes her nervous, nearly causing her to lose focus. As they blow out the candle together, she expresses her wish to him. Brielle gives a peck on the chin. Later that day, Marie reflects on how meaningful the young master's birthday is. In the original story, he didn't even make it to his first birthday since he had already died. However, this time, he was able to make it to his first birthday. Now, she feels like she has achieved a portion of the objective she initially set when she entered the story. Her sole desire is for the young master to grow normally and peacefully. Momentarily, she considers bringing some coffee for Kentrial. As she peeks into his room, she finds him talking to his dead brother in the picture frame. Admittingly, he is grappling with feelings of longing and uncertainty, questioning whether he has been raising Brielle effectively. Upon witnessing this, Marie now understands why he threw a small-scale birthday party for him. The gift he prepared on the young master's birthday for his brother was his nephew's happiness. It is a definite thing to wish the child to grow safely. She decides to revise the content of her parenting journal, which contains her resolution and goal. It's not only about raising Brielle safely, but also about making him feel happy. Oh, she truly cares for him and it shows. The next day in the garden, Ellie announces delightedly that the long-awaited day finally arrived. The big day will be the time that the young master will be able to walk while holding hands, and that day is today. Ellie is teaching him to walk while Marie is supervising the kids nearby. In exchange for making him happy, she hopes to get a kiss from him. Afterward, Marie proceeds to the Count's office to discuss something with him. Just as he is about to react, she assures him that it's nothing serious. She simply expresses how it would be nice for Brielle to have friends his age. However, she's uncertain as to what nobles do to have their children meet other nobles' children. Usually, they'll find someone to play with or meet them in high society meetings. But the thing is that he doesn't meet people at all. In the novel, it is written that Kentrial has not enjoyed being in a crowd since childhood. When it was time for any high society meeting, he'd often run away. Moreover, there are only 2 friends he's close with. Upon Marie's suggestion, he plans to talk to his friend, who has a child near Brielle's age. Momentarily, he gives her a brooch before she leaves. Speaking of the brooch, she remembers the one she used to wear before when she just started taking care of him. OMG, that's a very sweet gesture of him! Admittedly, Kentrial chose it personally, which explains his concern that she might not like it. In addition, it's his first time buying a woman's brooch, so it's possible that it might not be to her liking. Marie assures him that she genuinely likes it, which makes him glad. Later that day, while the 3 of them are at the library, he thinks he just hears Brielle calling him uncle. However, it turns out that he wants him to get off of Marie. The adults are currently selecting a new book for the young master. Since he has already heard a lot about dragons, they decide to find a different animal book this time. But seeing his reaction, it seems like he only wants to hear about dragons. Since there aren't any other children's books on dragons, Marie suggests making one on their own. Soon after Brielle falls asleep, they decide to draw for him. Once they're finished, they proceed to head out of the young master's room before he wakes up. The next day, the kids spend time playing together. However, Ellie and Barry end up fighting each other again as they try to win Brielle's favor. They only stop fighting when he mutters the word stupid, which catches them off guard. Where did he learn that word? As the kids continue to win the young master and take sides with each of them, Barry feels upset that he chooses to take sides with Ellie despite scolding her for teasing him. Meanwhile, Marie and the Count are showing off each other's drawings. He teases her for her bad drawing, but also decides to keep it for his collection. Subsequently, He shows off how good he is at drawing in a joking manner. Now that she thinks about it, the Count has always been in first place on the stewardship exam until now. Oh my, his intelligence just adds another layer of attractiveness to him. The following day, Brielle will be able to meet a new friend who's the same age as him. As he begins his social life, this world will now expand a bit more, and every day will feel different. Shortly after, Jake Viscount introduces his son, Jaden. The adults decide to leave the kids alone, with Marie supervising. At this age, children usually like toys, so it would help them get along well. However, after a few minutes, they already start fighting over dolls. No, sad. I was looking forward to their friendship. It turns out that Jaden likes Brielle's favorite doll. However, no one is allowed to touch it except for Marie, Ellie, and Barry. It seems like his first attempt at making friends failed. Fortunately, today passed without any serious incidents. However, there is still one big problem remaining. There were already hidden funds in Marie's house. It seems like she had already received an assassination request for Brielle before. She has been closely observing the surroundings for a while now, and there are no suspicious signs so far. After some time of contemplation, she plans to tell the Count that someone is targeting the young master. However, she doesn't know where to begin yet. Momentarily, he catches her awake at this late hour. The Count is clearly worried by her sudden presence. He quickly asks if something has happened to Brielle. Marie eases his worry, clarifying that she only wants to speak with him. They settle in the Count's chambers, where she suggests that a guardian knight be finally assigned to Brielle. In her mind, she assures herself that even if she can't tell him the whole truth, she can at least give him a slight warning. She tells him how she remembers seeing Jaden with a guardian knight earlier. He questions why she has come to him late at night just to say this, so she confesses that she tends to forget things easily. He chuckles at her antics. He seems touched that Marie seems to always think about Brielle's welfare. He tells her that he already has someone in mind. He also mentions that he plans to bring the child to an outing soon. Marie instantly expresses her worries about the risk, but he assures her that the place will have tight security. He claims that this will serve as a vacation for him. Marie worries that something has upset him. Once again, he is touched by her actions. He's not used to people worrying about him. It's becoming obvious that certain feelings are beginning to develop, you guys. Later on, the children are playing outside. Barry and Ellie are arguing as usual, while Brielle watches on. Suddenly, the toddler points out the shallow pool of water in the garden. Of course, being children, the three of them play and splash away to their heart's content. Marie watches fondly with towels in hand. Not long after, the Count approaches them with a palace official trailing behind him. Unexpectedly, the Count joins in on the fun. The usually stoic Count gives a bright smile when Brielle beams at him, wanting to play some more. During their first picnic together, Brielle is quite enjoying the experience. However, things go sideways when the child runs off into the deeper part of the forest. Marie hurriedly goes after him. Turns out he was running after a rabbit this whole time. Suddenly, Marie feels like they're being watched. She quickly alerts the Count, so he orders his people to search the area. But according to them, there were no suspicious people anywhere. However, for some reason, Marie still feels uneasy. Meanwhile, a mysterious man is upset that Marie is living so well after her betrayal. After some time, it is time for the young master's second birthday. The home is packed since both the in-laws have gathered to celebrate with Brielle. Marie thinks that she may have imagined the incident in the park, considering how nothing has happened since then. Brielle is shy about having to meet so many people, adorably hiding behind her skirt for protection. My gosh, he's so cute! I can just put him in my pocket! The child becomes even more shy when his maternal grandfather comes to greet him. Fortunately, his grandfather, Lord Poronga, did not come empty-handed. He shows Brielle a dragon doll. The child quickly snatches the gift, his eyes sparkling with fascination. The Lord then thanks Marie for taking such good care of his grandson. Brielle wants to place the precious doll with his other toys, so Marie excuses herself for a moment. As he watches the two walk away, Lord Poronga thinks about his late daughter, Arya, and how thankful he is that her child is growing well. His only wish is that his daughter is happily watching over them in heaven. Later on, Ellie and Brielle excitedly make their way to go down the slide. The two of them, along with Miss Bear, have a great time playing to their heart's content. The gardener is even fondly watching over them, fascinated by such a heartwarming sight. When it's time for dinner, Marie feeds the young master with potatoes, and it seems like it suits his taste very much. She encourages the Count to try feeding the child once. The butler quickly protests, stating that it is unusual for a Count to do such a thing. However, the Count does it anyway. He is happy to see that Brielle is eating so well now. Suddenly, the Count mentions that he has something to say to Marie. he asks if she's available tomorrow evening because he wants to have dinner with her outside. What? Is this it, guys? Are they finally getting together? Marie blushes because it seems like the Count is asking her out on a date. Turns out Marie is way off. It was not a date. The Count even wants to bring Brielle along. Poor Marie is embarrassed out of her mind. She berates herself for thinking such things. Suddenly, the Count notices that Brielle is getting quite chubby, so he asks her if the child has gained weight. She explains that since it's cold outside, she makes sure that he's wearing about 6 layers of clothing. The Count then tells her to take care of herself as well. When she replies that she's fine, he argues that she may end up giving Brielle a cold if she gets one. Instantly, Marie goes inside to change. Left alone with Brielle, the Count tells himself that this is not a simple nanny situation anymore. He even asks for the toddler's opinion. They are so adorable. When they reach the restaurant, the Count announces that he'll be the one to feed Brielle, so all Marie has to do is enjoy the food. She tries the steak served to her, and it is indeed delicious. However, she can't help but think about her siblings. Even though the Count offered to take the other children with them, she declined. She doesn't want strange rumors spreading about the Count, but now she regrets her decision. She decides that next time she'll take her siblings with her to try the best meal ever. Meanwhile, 2 people take notice of the Count with someone. They are curious about who he is with, but their view is blocked by the fireplace. The man, who apparently works for the Count, cannot believe that he is witnessing the usually stern Prime Minister laughing and looking so carefree. Later on, when the trio arrives home, the Count is convinced that Marie's arm is strained. Brielle has demanded that Marie carry him all the way home. He wouldn't even let the Count carry him. To Marie's surprise, the Count offers to give her a massage. She is about to refuse, but the Count insists upon it. While she is sitting down as the Count is massaging her shoulders, Marie asks him about his time in the Knight's Order. As a second son, he has to enter the Order. However, he has to quit early. When she asks him why, he remains silent. He then changes the subject, mentioning the need to call Brielle's tutors. Marie is then reminded of Brielle's 2nd birthday when the toddler wanted to know more about ants. Full of curiosity, the child asked her endless questions she had no answer to. He is already at an age where he will ask why to everything. She decided to drag the Count into the whole mess by telling the child that they could go ask him. The Count was initially happy to hear the child calling out to him, but when the why attack began, he turned white in an instant. At present, the Count tells her that he's able to hire a genius to be Brielle's tutor. Later on, Marie is on her way to the young master's room when she hears screams coming from his room. She panics and swiftly opens the door. She finds the child and his tutor in the room. Turns out the master is perfectly fine. The man was just trying to teach Brielle letters, but he suddenly shouted. A little early on, Brielle's tutor, Duchess, wants to improve his concentration. So, to make him more interested in studying, he suggested that they will try writing the Count's name. However, the child insisted that they should write Marie's name instead. The tutor began thinking that the child's nanny seemed like an amazing person and that she was even kind of cute. Out of nowhere, as if sensing his thoughts, Brielle threw a tantrum. The child demanded that he go away. What is this? Can Brielle read minds or something? As they sit down to discuss the young master's behavior, Brielle is clearly shielding her. Marie thinks that the young master is just not used to being away from her. The tutor asks her if there are words that Brielle doesn't like, but there isn't any. They spend the rest of the time discussing Brielle's likes and dislikes. Later on, Brielle is happily playing with Barry. The boy is strong enough to carry the toddler around, something that Brielle enjoys. Ellie, wanting to play with Brielle as well, shows the child the flower crown she has made for him. Marie watches on, happy that instead of getting jealous of each other, the 2 children find a way to play with the young master. She wants to look for a way for the 3 of them to be able to play together. She also wonders what other activities the Count would want to do with Brielle. The Count, on the other hand, is busy with his work when the king decides to visit him. The king's bright disposition does not lift the Count's mood, even when the king offered that he spend the night in the palace. He declines, but the king points out that he doesn't have anyone waiting for him at home. The Count replies that he is busy and tells the king to leave him alone. The king laughs heartily, commenting that the Count has changed. The king even teases him that he sometimes smiles on his own. The Count wonders if he does so when he remembers Brielle. Or the nanny. OMG, the Count is already so besotted with Marie! The king mentions his nephew's upcoming birthday. The Count knows what the king's intention is, and that is to know if he plans to make Brielle his successor. He becomes even more bothered when the king mentions rumors about how great the child's nanny is. Inexplicably, he doesn't like it when another man speaks of the nanny. He tells himself that he needs to focus on his work. In the Count's manor, Marie is sorting through the laundry when she hears knocking on the window. When she looks outside, she is horrified to see that someone is watching her deep in the woods. Marie feels a crippling anxiety about the whole situation. She fearfully calls out to whoever is watching her, demanding to know who they are. However, the person vanishes in a blink of an eye. In the past, Marie had deliberately abandoned Ellie, only bringing Barry along since a boy is considered useful. Poor Ellie had to be taken care of by the neighbors when she was left all alone. Marie took all the valuables and money from the house and ran away. When she came back with her little brother, she took Ellie in once more. This time, she made them eat more food than they could take, all because she needed to make them look well taken care of if she wanted to get the nanny position at the Count's residence. Marie went into debt due to her expensive lifestyle. However, after failing to run away and running out of money, she desperately needed a way to get money. In the original story, a dark hand approached Marie. At present, Marie wonders if the same person she saw earlier was the one who approached the original Marie. Suddenly, like a ray of sunshine, Ellie appears beside her, asking her why she's out in the rain. Brielle even brings out a towel for her, offering to wipe her himself. But Ellie, being taller than the toddler, ends up the one doing it. Marie feels relief since she is definitely not alone because of the kids. Later on, she tells the Count of what happened. At first, she thinks that he will not believe her since she was the only one who saw the mysterious person outside. To her surprise, he believes her instantly, even mentioning forming a knighthood to increase their protection. Marie wonders why the Count does not doubt her, but she is grateful that he trusts her. The Count, on the other hand, is still thinking about what he felt earlier when the king mentioned Marie. He doesn't understand his reaction at all. More than that, he wants to know the identity of the person who keeps hovering around. Brielle is behaving strangely these days. He keeps throwing random tantrums and depends on Marie more than usual. The time has come for him to start learning proper meal etiquette on his own. She thought that now that the young master was rapidly growing, he would stop acting like a baby. However, she seems to be mistaken. But when she thinks about how Brielle will eventually not need her help, she can't help but want to indulge his cuteness now when she still can. However, even though she accepted most of his tantrums, she can't help but feel like some of his behavior is a bit too much. The child seems to always want her to stay with him, asking her to do the most random things for him. Marie decides to inform the Count about the situation. She tells him how Brielle has been behaving strangely. To her surprise, rather than being curious about his nephew's peculiar progress, the Count seems flustered. She asks if he is feeling unwell, but the Count blushes even more intensely. "Why are you being so unfairly handsome, Mr. Count? Stop it!" Marie asks if he has something in mind. The Count finally replies, telling her what Brielle is doing is a cute protest. Apparently, the young master has confronted him earlier, asking him if he still didn't have a lover. If that wasn't surprising enough, the child then demanded that he must not marry until he grows up. The butler then explained to the confused Count that the young master had a conversation with his little playmate earlier. He was sulking because he claimed that his uncle was good at everything. He didn't like that Marie thought so as well. The child wants to be someone who is good at everything too. His playmate, Jaden, then mentioned that his father told him that Brielle's uncle is great at work, but he can't do love. Jaden explained to him that if his uncle ever got married, his new wife would send his nanny away. Brielle is horrified. This is why he demands such a thing of his uncle. The Count accidentally promised not to get married. What he doesn't understand, however, is why did he think about the nanny when the word lover was mentioned? Later on, Marie and Brielle, along with some guards, are shopping for gifts for Ellie. Marie is still anxious since the threat against Brielle has not been eliminated yet. She is almost certain that the presence she felt at the Count's house is the same person who ordered her to kill Brielle. The day she was in an accident before arriving in this world was the day she was about to read the side story of the culprit. However, she did not get a chance to read it. This is why she doesn't know who that person is. Suddenly, she sees someone pass by her. She feels an inexplicable unease, especially when she sees the person holding onto a sword. She clutches Brielle closer to her, horrified for some reason. Why is that person here? That man is known in the story as Derek, the one who wields the longest sword in the kingdom. In the original story, he is known as the loyal subordinate of the villain, Kentrail, aka the Count. The man willingly cuts down the Count's enemies without hesitation. Marie doesn't understand why he's in the capital. She is fearful of this new development. She has thought that they escaped the original flow of the story since Brielle is still alive. The young master notices her anxiousness and calls for her attention. Seeing the child so worried, Marie assures him that everything is fine and that they should head back to the mansion. She can only hope that the Count did not call on Derek like in the original plot. Turns out, The Count is the one who summoned Derek. He informs the man that he believes that the death of his brother is by no means an accident. Early on, he was gazing at his late brother's portrait when he noticed that there was a piece of paper behind it. Whatever information was written on it had convinced him that the tragic fate of his brother and his wife was deliberate. He tells Derek that what he will ask of him is dangerous. He asks him if he will stand by his side and fight for him. Derek kneels before the Count, offering his mighty sword to him. He says that the Count has always been on his side when he was in trouble. He will stand with no one other than him. Time passes by, and it's time for Brielle's 3rd birthday. The Count certainly does not intend to save any expense. The party is even grander than the last one. The Count has invited the most important people in the kingdom and even wants to share the birthday banquet with the people of the territory. Naturally, since lots of nobles have been invited, rumors will surely spread. They are already talking about how handsome the Count is, as well as the possibility that he is considering naming his nephew as his heir. The Count goes to Brielle's room to fetch him. The little boy is dressed adorably formal. The Count even invites Marie to join them for Brielle's presentation. However, Marie refuses to participate, promising to go with Brielle next time. It's impossible for the young master to appear holding his nanny's hand during such an important day. The Count of Kentrell is announced together with his nephew. Brielle looks extremely nervous to be in front of a crowd, so the Count offers to take his hand and together they walk on. Meanwhile, Marie is observing from the top floor. She is glad that she is able to raise Brielle safely. She feels satisfied with her position. Later on, Marie is outside in her night clothes. The Count happens to see her there. He places his coat around her shoulders, telling her how cold it is outside. Such a gentleman! He sits beside her and tells her how Brielle went off to play with Jaden once the introduction was over. The little boy is now dozing off. The Count then notices that she's drinking on her own, worried that she may fall down the stairs if she has too much. Marie unwittingly boasts about how strong her tolerance is, making the Count laugh. Seeing him so carefree, Marie remembers how he looked in the novel when he vowed to get revenge for his family. A far cry from how he is now. Determined, she promises that they will protect Brielle no matter what. The Count is taken aback, but he agrees. He is transfixed by her bright smile. He is so grateful to her for always caring for his nephew. He couldn't have raised Brielle alone without her being his strength. He wonders if he'll ever be able to express his feelings for her. No, the relationship between these two is so precious. On a sunny morning, while enjoying his peaceful day, Kentrell notices someone approaching. A woman with black hair walks gracefully towards him, together with 2 other women who seem to be her maid. It's the Queen! He bows down and greets her formally, but gets an informal greeting in return. He looks at her with piercing eyes, warning her to not call him by his name despite being relatives. But regardless of those remarks, the Queen doesn't seem to be bothered. She brushes it off and asks about Brielle instead. Kentrell shares that Brielle is fine. Suddenly, the Queen's mood changes, expressing how she feels for not having children of her own. Kentrell tries his best to assure her that her time will come. The Queen then asks about his love life. It seems she hasn't heard any news of him getting married, and she's more than willing to set him up with her friends. However, it seems like Kentrell isn't interested in it yet, and he already chose Brielle to be his heir. In an instant, the Queen tells him that it's probably why no one dares to marry him since their own child won't even be able to be an heir. She then pats Kentrell's arms, showing how interested she is in his love for his brother. Then, voices of shrieking kids fill the room. It's Brielle and Jaden fighting with each other. Luckily, Marie arrives. It turns out that they're fighting because of the swordsmanship lessons that they're taking. Oh, kids, they really fight because of the small things, but go back to being okay as if nothing happens. When Brielle started his swordsmanship lessons, the one who benefited the most was Barry. It was an opportunity given so that he could become a guardian knight for Brielle one day. It's also thanks to the other knights at the Count's estate who took a liking to him. If it wasn't for them, he'd just be a nanny's family. Seeing how Marie gives a sweet smile to Taylor, one of the knights who helped Barry, Brielle's face turns sour as he pulls Taylor's pants, asking to teach him again despite having a rest. Finally, it's time for a horse riding lesson. Marie thought that it would all happen smoothly, but then Brielle cries. He's clearly scared of the horse, so Marie wants to laugh seeing his face but tries to stop it. Suddenly, Kentrell approaches Brielle and comforts him, making him stop crying. He rides together with Brielle, hoping he can teach him as he reminisces his memories with his older brother back when his older brothers taught him how to ride a horse. And it's happening again, but right now, he's the one who's teaching his older brother's son. Seeing what's happening in front of her, Marie can't deny how lovely the two look. As she's enjoying the view, a horse suddenly approaches her as if it took a liking to her. Taylor tells her that he likes her. He even offers to teach her to ride the horse, which she gladly accepts, given that she has always wanted that. As he guides Marie in riding the horse, Taylor can't help but blush, feeling something within him. As Brielle and Kentrail ride the horse, Brielle can't help but wonder how nice it would be if Marie rides with them. Thinking of what his nephew said, he realizes that it's a good idea in case something happens. All of a sudden, Brielle shouts upon seeing Taylor helping Marie. His cute little face turns red, clearly not liking what he sees. Taylor explains that he's just helping Marie since the horse is too tall, but Brielle continues to throw tantrums, saying that he should ask for permission first. He continued with his cute little grunts, saying things like he's going to marry Marie, which made his uncle freeze in utter shock. Sitting comfortably in his office, the butler enters, informing Kentrail that Derek safely settled in the capital. He sighed with relief and asks the butler to go. Reading his brother's diary, Marie suddenly enters the room, showing him the cookies that they baked. And by the meaning of we, she and Brielle did it, with Brielle helping her by molding the cookies. Kentrail is truly amazed. He didn't realize that Brielle can already do such things. It's as if he grew up too fast. He covers his eyes with his hands, feeling worried that once he blinks his eyes, he'll already be too old to be in his arms. Seeing the worry on Kentrail's face, Marie tries to comfort him by saying that he should seize the moment, spend more time with him, and tell him that he loves him a lot. Suddenly, his face turns red. Marie notices it and asks if he's fine. He assures that he's fine, but Marie doesn't believe it. He's clearly not okay. It's probably because he overworked himself and he hasn't gone out of his room for days. All of a sudden, he fainted. In Kentrail's room, Brielle is so worried about his uncle, tears even fall from his cute little eyes. However, Marie assures him that his uncle will be fine if he just rests for 3 days. During those days, Marie stayed beside him, and by the moment he's okay, she shared how worried Brielle is to him. When Kentrail heard that Marie stayed with him, he thanked her, but Marie said she only did it because Brielle was worried for him. Well, of course it's a lie, since it would be embarrassing for her to say that she's also worried, right? After Kentrail had his meal, Marie then gives him his medicine, in which he makes a silly face after drinking since it's too bitter. Marie let out a laugh, but stopped right away after realizing it. However, Kentrail looks at her softly and says that she can laugh if she wants. He wants her to be comfortable around him. Their cheeks both turn red after realizing what happened. Kentrail clears his throat and brings up the family word, saying that they already are one. That's why he wants her to be comfortable around him. Hearing what he said, Marie realizes that it's been years since they lived together, and she thinks that she's gotten as close to the Count as he is to Brielle, but she never thought that she'd hear something like that from him. For some reason, she feels like crying. If she only had known that he's like this, she'd curse him less before when she was reading the novel. Kentrail, who is a dark character, received quite a bit of criticism due to his role from the fans of the protagonists, and one of them was her. But now she already understands him. If anyone would harm Brielle, she can't guarantee that she won't do the same. Out of the blue, she asks him if there's anyone he has a grudge against. It was weird given that it's so random, but Kentrail straight up answers that there's no one. Marie still wants to ask more, but then she realizes that it may not be right since he still has to rest. The moment Marie leaves, Kentrail wonders if he really holds a grudge with anyone, but he really doesn't. Well, a lot of people held a grudge on him when he became Prime Minister. But his brother, did they hold a grudge against his brother too? But he doesn't think his brother has an enemy. Rather, it might be a grudge from his parents who died after being caught in that incident. Suddenly, his eyes widen when he realizes something. When Kentrail recovers, he goes out from his room and is greeted by a smiling Brielle who's running towards him asking if he's okay. He even gave him a candy after knowing that he doesn't like those bitter medicines. Such a sweet little kid. Marie also followed him, telling him not to run around like that. When Kentrail sees her, he asks to have a word with her about something. In the office, he shares how he wants to offer Barry to go to an academy for swordsmanship since there's only a limit to what they can teach there. Despite Marie thinking that it's a great opportunity, it's too much of an offer, and she has already got a lot from them. Kentrail explains that it's such a good opportunity for Barry, and it can shape his skills to become a great knight and help their family. And as he said to her, they are already a family. Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, Marie accepts the offer from him. And with that, everyone offered their congratulations, except for one, Brielle. Sad that Barry is going, Brielle runs and hides from him. Looking for Brielle, Barry finally found him hiding behind the bushes. Brielle's behaving in such a way because they all said Barry will leave him, and if he goes, he will have no one to do the swordsmanship lessons with. He's even willing to not ask Barry to pick him up anymore, if only he won't leave him. Tears fall from his cute little eyes as he tells those things to Barry. In an instant, Barry hugs Brielle and promises him that he'll train hard and be a great knight, and by the time he'll come back, Brielle will be his lord. Sadness and loneliness, that's what Ellie feels the moment her brother leaves. Standing in the dark room, she can't help but feel devastated. Despite them always bickering, Ellie really does love her brother. Suddenly, Marie enters the room and asks her to go out. In an instant, Ellie's face lights up. It's filled with happiness and excitement. During the king's birthday, all the stores in the kingdom put out flowers to celebrate. Every night, musicians play music. As they roam around and try different foods, a smile is painted on Ellie's face, washing away the unpleasant feelings that she felt earlier. May that smile never vanish, little Ellie. Suddenly, a man approaches Marie. It was Brielle's teacher, Duchess. He then invites them to a drink. Drinks are served, and Duchess says that it's on him since he insisted, and he's also lonely since his friends went to Paris. In all actuality, the two look happy when they talk. They both look great together. Well, the Count is cooler and someone that can't really be overlooked. All of a sudden, she remembers what a woman told her before, that if they notice adults in a strange mood, they should move out and give them space. Immediately, she excuses herself and leaves. Despite leaving, she still watches them from afar. In the back of her mind, she only hopes one thing: her sister's happiness. What a sweet little girl. Finally, the king's birthday came. Brielle is already dressed up, looking so cute with his outfit. Marie can't even resist. Brielle even asks if he looks better than his uncle, but then Marie said that there's no comparison. Just when she said it, Kentrail arrives, saying that he didn't know that he could even be compared. Her cheeks blushes as soon as she sees him. He looks more handsome than usual. That dashing outfit that he's wearing clearly suits him very well. The moment they enter the palace, people's eyes are immediately dotted on them. Curiosity, fear, nervousness, those are the emotions that can be seen in the eyes of those people. But it doesn't bother him despite hearing whispers from them every step he takes. Immediately, Jake, Jaden's dad, approaches him. As they're talking, a couple approaches them with their daughter, saying that it's their daughter's first time attending, so they hope they can be friends. They even initiated Brielle and Jaden to have a dance with the little girl, which shocked them. Meanwhile, the kids all around have put on their cute, scared little faces. Their terrified expressions say that they don't want to because they don't know these people. Kentrail looks at them clearly irritated and asks them to stop. This is clearly why he hates socializing. People there don't care about their children and just try to use them for their benefit. There really are parents who will go to such lengths. It's irritating. Kentrail was just planning to show his face to the king and go back, but when they meet him, it's clear that the king gains interest in Brielle. Seeing that Brielle is amazed with his crown, the king asks him to come closer, and suddenly he picks him up and makes him sit on his lap. This alerts Kentrail. He immediately picks up Brielle. The fact that the king, who has no brothers and sisters and has never seen an heir, favors a noble child, it may soon have a meaning, especially when he embraces Brielle, a distant relative of the queen. It is an incident that could cause quite a stir among the nobles. After that, an angry Kentrail left the palace without saying goodbye, and for days he refused to go to work. The absence of him, a capable prime minister, would put great pressure on the king. During those days, he spends it with Brielle, Marie, and Ellie. They go around the kingdom. People even think that they're family. Well, they look good together, that's probably why. Smiles are painted on their faces. All of them are clearly happy and are enjoying each other's company. But will that happiness last when danger still lingers around them, waiting for their favorable time to attack? No, please, they deserve happiness too. Sitting in his office, the butler enters the room to give Kentrail the invitation for Brielle. The butler once again asks if they don't want to go. Kentrail makes a silly face and asks the butler if he was influenced by Marie's extreme behavior, because if he was, he should have stopped Kentrail when he put a condition on accepting an apology. Speaking of an apology, the butler never thought that he would demand the king to let every child in the capital sit on his lap as a condition to work again. His way to stop the rumors from stirring up is absolutely hilarious. Well, the king really did that, but still, Kentrail's still thinking about working at the palace again or not, since he's enjoying his break these days, even though he still does the chores. Suddenly, he asks about Brielle, so the butler informs him that he's with his tutor. Then he asks again, but this time about Marie. These past few days, the butler notices that he's been asking about her a lot. When he replies that she's at the terrace reading a book, he quickly stands up, saying that it's time for him to read the newspaper, despite finishing it in the morning. When he arrives at the terrace, he sees Marie peacefully sleeping on the chair. He then asks the butler to have the maid cover her with a blanket. He's making it obvious that he likes her. Meanwhile, Brielle is caught up in a hide-and-seek game. Because the game required a large number of people, he naturally got to play with other maids. Thanks to everyone getting along well with Brielle, he felt much more comfortable in many ways. While Marie's hiding on the walls, she saw a lot of books, but one particular book caught her attention. She tiptoes and gets the book when suddenly she loses balance. Luckily, Kentrail is there. The man's making his move. A look of surprise is evident on her face as her cheeks turn slightly red. It turns out that Kentrail is around, but she didn't notice him, making him think that she ignores him on purpose. Suddenly, he notices the book that she's holding and asks if she's become curious about the history of the kingdom. Seeing her reactions as she talks about the book somehow makes him think she's cute. But then he froze as he realized what he just thought. All of a sudden, as they're talking, he sees an arrow coming towards them. He quickly hugs Marie, protecting her from the arrow that's coming towards her. Luckily, Kentrail only has a scratch on his forehead. He immediately asks the butler to guide Marie to the safe place and block all the doors of the estate. Seeing Marie nervous, Taylor, who's with Marie that time, asks if she would like to stay together with Ellie in Brielle's chamber. And when the situation gets solved, he'll head there immediately. She immediately agrees, and Taylor leaves. Realizing the situation that they're in, it looks as if Brielle isn't enough, and now the culprit even wants to harm Kentrail because of her. Everything would have been different if only she had read until the part where the culprit came. Suddenly, Ellie and Brielle arrive, asking her if she's all right. And so she just assures them that she is, reasoning that she just ate too much dinner. Ellie offers to pat her back for her, while Brielle holds her hand with his cute little hand and offers to pat her head. Just with those, a smile slowly appears on her face, seeing she's surrounded by these gentle little kids. They are so sweet, OMG! 2 days pass by, but the culprit still hasn't been easily caught. While Ellie's in the hallway, she's greeted by Duchess. It turns out that he's there to inform them that he passed the administrative exam, though he took it 3 times, so he'll be there infrequently. He then asks where her sister is so he can bid his farewell, since he wouldn't be able to meet as often in the future. All of a sudden, Brielle rushes towards him and asks him things that he doesn't understand. He tries to keep him busy, since his goal is for Duchess not to meet Marie. In Kentrail's office, Ellie's sitting on the sofa wanting to tell something to Kentrail. She wants to tell him that she saw a suspicious person. There's a small dog hole in the estate's back garden, and she saw him there. Kentrail doesn't understand, since the estate's renovated every year, and the garden is always guarded by the knights. If an outsider went in and out from there, they would have already been caught. However, the person Ellie saw in that dog hole was a knight. She saw him while she was playing hide-and-seek with Brielle. Since he was a knight, she thought that there must have been a reason for him to secretly go in and out of the estate. That knight was even kind to her. And she's telling all of this to him since Kentrail told her that they're the only person that Brielle can trust. That's why she also wants to be a helpful member of the estate. Touched by what the little kid did, he pats her shoulder and looks at her softly as a smile slowly forms on his face. By the time they were attacked, he wasn't composed enough, so he completely thought that they were aiming for him, but that arrow definitely flew directly to the nanny's head. But what would be the reason for aiming at that woman instead of him? Does she know something that he doesn't know? He still has a lot of doubts around her, but Marie, the woman that he has seen, is not someone who is harmful to Brielle because they promised to protect him together. So for that child's smile to be put on his face, he will absolutely protect her too. A tense morning in the palace garden begins with the Count informing Marie that the suspicious figure prowling the grounds has been caught. Surprise! The culprit is not some shadowy rogue, but a knight. Knowledgeable and skilled, now locked underground for interrogation. But here's the catch. The real mastermind is still at large. Villains. Never make it easy, do they? The Count praises Ellie, Marie's sharp-eyed younger sister, for her keen perception. Kids, she muses, are often smarter than they appear. This little compliment leads him down memory lane, where he recalls suspecting that Marie might be hiding something dangerous enough to put a target on her back. Instead of confronting her, he pivoted the conversation to hiring an escort for Brielle. With trust now at a premium after the knight's betrayal, he assigns the duty to Mr. Taylor, a loyal and unimpeachable ally. The Count's guilt resurfaces. He regrets not noticing Marie's injury sooner. Kneeling before her, he tenderly applies cream to a scar on her hand. Cue the swoon-worthy moment, folks. This is the kind of chivalry they no longer teach. With a soft smile, the Count suggests Marie check on Ellie. When Marie finds her sister, Ellie admits she's a little sad. After all, the knight who betrayed them once seemed like a friend. He often looked after her and Barry when they were home alone. Why, Ellie wonders, would someone like that suddenly turn on them? Marie hugs her, apologizing for not being more attentive. Ellie, ever the sweet optimist, reassures her. To Ellie, Marie is the best sister ever, cooking meals, combing her hair, buying clothes, and even sending letters to Barry daily. And let's take a moment to appreciate this wholesome sisterly love. It's pure, heartfelt, and a tad tear-jerking. Marie reflects on these moments. Protecting Brielle was her initial goal, but now she's grateful to be there for Ellie and Barry too. Yet this resolve brings a heavy decision. Marie realizes she must tell the Count the truth. But will he believe her? Worse, will he hate her for it? The scene shifts to the Count's dreams. A hazy memory of his older brother carrying him on his back as a child. His brother, Brielle's father, was his rock. But the dream darkens, pulling him into the pain of his brother's death. Waking with a start, the Count finds little Brielle perched on his chest, waiting for him to wake. Because nothing shakes off a nightmare quite like an adorable toddler to ground you. Secrets, sibling bonds, and just the right dash of nostalgia to keep us hooked. What's next for Marie and the Count? The morning kicks off with an overload of cuteness as Brielle cheerfully greets the Count, only to be scooped into a tight hug. Naturally, the little guy protests, adorably claiming he can't breathe. Is it even a proper morning without a dose of toddler charm? Brielle, ever observant, notices his uncle's teary eyes and wonders if he had a scary dream. The Count brushes it off, saying he was just missing Brielle. When Brielle heals him with an exaggerated whew of air to the cheek, the Count laughs and hoists him into the air. Yep, cuteness overload. To liven things up during their indoor restrictions, the Count takes to the piano. The kids are mesmerized by his talent and gush over how cool he is. Inspired, Brielle tugs on Marie's skirt, asking if she can play too. Marie hesitates, recalling her simple repertoire from her last life as a childcare teacher. Definitely not fit for a grand palace piano. Before her nerves can spiral, the Count steps in and offers to teach the children himself. Brielle, ever observant, notices his uncle's teary eyes and wonders if he had a scary dream. Inspired, Brielle tugs on Marie's skirt, asking if he can play too. As the kids joyfully sit at the piano bench, Marie notices a subtle shift in Ellie's demeanor, but decides to let it slide. The kids are happy, and that's what matters. Later that evening, the Count and his servants gather in the woods to review their investigation. While the knight in custody remains tight-lipped, an encrypted letter was found at his house. Though the contents are undecipherable, its presence raises the stakes. The Count apologizes to his servant, asking him to bear additional responsibilities. Things get tense as suspicions creep toward Marie. Some question her trustworthiness given her relatively recent arrival. The Count defends her adamantly, pointing out that if Marie had ill intentions, she would have harmed Brielle long ago. He goes a step further, entrusting the servant to protect Marie and her siblings if anything happens to them. Back at the castle, excitement builds as Brielle eagerly awaits Barry's return. Marie soothes his impatience, reminding him to greet Barry warmly and avoid arguments with their guest. The reunion is sweet as Ellie embraces her brother by the carriage door. Barry introduces his companion, Siege Kaler, a name that rings with importance to Marie as she recalls the male protagonist of the original story. And just like that, things are about to get interesting. Enter Siege Kaler, a vision with silver hair that shimmers like a hero straight out of a fairy tale. But for Marie, he's no dream. He's actually the male protagonist destined to kill the Count in the original story. Talk about complicated house guests! Meanwhile, Mr. Taylor peers cautiously from behind the curtains, cradling a sulky Brielle in his arms. He's well aware of Siege's impressive swordsmanship rank and composed demeanor, yet Marie's unusually guarded behavior toward their guest leaves him perplexed. After fussing over Brielle, she left him in Taylor's care, promising to introduce the young master to Siege later. What's got the nanny on edge? Marie offers Siege a drink, all the while grappling with internal disbelief. How could the male protagonist from the story end up being Barry's friend? Siege, polite and proper, wants to thank the Count for hosting him, but Marie insists the Count is busy, anything to delay their meeting. Outside, Brielle sulks atop his treehouse. Feeling left out, he hugs his teddy bear and mutters about everyone keeping secrets. He wonders if he needs to grow as tall as Barry to finally be included. Hang in there, little guy. Being tiny has its perks. Marie spots Brielle from afar and calls out to him, earning a flurry of angry leg kicks. Deciding to handle this creatively, she climbs the tree. Brielle is shocked. Marie climbing? But his astonishment quickly turns back to sulking. When she explains that Siege is a stranger she was planning to introduce slowly, Brielle insists she's just mean. Before Marie can respond, she loses her footing and falls, only to land safely in the Count's arms. Timing? Perfect. Concerned scolding? Check. Hero moment? Absolutely. He places her back on solid ground, fussing over her well-being while Mr. Taylor and Brielle join in, equally worried. In a rare comedic twist, Mr. Taylor uses the incident as a teachable moment for Brielle, warning him to always be careful. Brielle, ever the quick wit, retorts that Marie should be the careful one. Ouch, Brielle! That hit her pride! Defeated, Marie apologizes, earning an amused smile from the Count, who thinks she's endured enough scolding for one day. Brielle then demands to know how his uncle appeared so suddenly. The Count reveals that he was watching from the window and ran down when he saw Marie scaling the tree. Despite his calm demeanor, Marie notices he's sweating. He must have sprinted. The mood lightens as the Count offers to bring Brielle along to meet Siege for dinner. Brielle eagerly agrees, leaving Marie and Mr. Taylor relieved that the tantrum is officially over. Back in the palace, Brielle is deep in conversation with Ellie when a bombshell drops. It's Marie's birthday tomorrow! Brielle is shaken to his core when Ellie casually mentions it's Marie's birthday tomorrow. He panics. What gift has Ellie prepared? And pouts, devastated that he didn't prepare anything himself. Ellie reassures him that even simple birthday wishes will make Marie happy, but Brielle isn't convinced. She takes such good care of him, he has to do more. With determination in his little face, Brielle runs off to find the Count. Excitedly, Brielle spills the news to his uncle, asking if he knows about Marie's birthday. The Count freezes, caught completely off guard. But seeing Brielle's pleading eyes, he suggests they go out together to pick the perfect gift. The next day, Marie is startled by bursts of confetti and cheerful birthday wishes. Brielle proudly presents her with a beautifully wrapped gift, explaining how difficult it was to choose. Marie's surprise grows as Mr. Taylor chuckles, revealing that when Brielle couldn't decide, the Count simply bought everything. The Count, ever so casual, clears his throat as Brielle beams, declaring that Marie likes scented candles. Marie stares at the mountain of gifts, grateful but overwhelmed. She wonders how she'll use them all, but the Count assures her they'll buy more if she ever runs out. Then, with a slightly bashful air, the Count offers his own gift. He recalls her hesitation to wear a brooch he previously gave her, suspecting she didn't like it. Marie quickly reassures him it wasn't the style, it was just to avoid risking harm to the kids. Her reaction to his gift, a stunning piece of jewelry, leaves the Count blushing as she profusely thanks him. Brielle, not to be left out, wishes her a happy birthday again with a kiss on her cheek. The Count turns away, flustered at the gesture, as Ellie tilts her head, puzzled by his reaction. Later, Marie reflects on her past birthdays, which were lonely and unhappy. For the first time, surrounded by people who care about her, she feels truly celebrated. Marie promises to look forward to next year's celebration. Trying on a hat Ellie gifted her, Marie dressed up to go out. Ellie became suspicious of her sister's unusually polished look. Marie brushes it off, saying she's meeting a close friend. Ellie squints. If it's just a friend, why is her sister so dressed up? In the town, Marie meets Erin, Brielle's former nanny, and the two share fond memories. Erin's child has grown up, and she teases Marie, wondering if she's going on a date after their meetup. Marie denies it, though Erin clearly doesn't believe her. As they chat, Marie spots Mr. Yuge, Brielle's former tutor. After introducing him to Erin, the group decides to share a meal together. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Brielle asks Ellie where Marie is. Ellie cheerfully declares that her sister went on a blind date. The Count, overhearing this, chokes on his tea, eyes wide in disbelief. What did he just hear? The Count tries to collect himself but falters, stammering as he asks who Marie went out with. Before he can finish, Brielle asks where she is and with whom. Ellie shrugs, saying she has no idea either. Brielle tearfully snatches Ellie's book, declaring with unshakable conviction that Marie belongs to him. Behind the children, the Count's mood darkens as he recalls how happy Marie seemed when he approved her outing. Turning once more to Ellie, The Count clarifies whether Marie truly didn't reveal who she was meeting. Ellie reiterates that Marie only mentioned a close friend. The Count sighs, visibly more disheartened, while Brielle punches the air in a fit of adorable rage. Ellie's eyes suddenly light up with mischief, her gaze laser-focused on the Count and his behavior. And just like that, Ellie knew she had some premium drama on her hands. Later, Mr. Taylor knocks on the Count's door, reporting that Marie has been located at a restaurant near the square. Inwardly, Mr. Taylor notes how the Count seems to have been waiting anxiously all day. Despite the reassurance, the Count hesitates, his silence pressing. Mr. Taylor quickly adds that she's dining with a man. What he fails to mention is that Erin had merely stepped away, leaving Marie with Mr. Hugues momentarily. A scene misinterpreted by Taylor. Now alone, the Count slumps into his chair, chastising himself for his shameful behavior. And as his mind drifts, the image of Marie's radiant smile grips his heart. The realization hits. He doesn't want to lose her. But he tells himself firmly, if Marie has found someone she truly likes, he will bury his feelings for her sake. When Marie returns, Brielle bolts toward her, bombarding her with frantic questions about her supposed blind date. Marie sighs, explaining she was merely meeting Erin, his former nanny. She smiles, thinking how adorable Brielle is, and promises to take him along next time. But her thoughts turn to the Count. Has he heard this blind date rumor too? His recent avoidance of her suggests as much. Meanwhile, hidden behind a door, Ellie and Barry whisper conspiratorially. Ellie insists the Count has feelings for Marie. She points out how concerned he seemed when she casually mentioned the blind date and how he couldn't take his eyes off Marie during the birthday party. They banter, and Ellie argues that the Count listens to her better than Barry ever does, referencing the time she informed him about the culprit behind the arrow incident. Their banter shifts, and Barry asks if he should stay home instead of returning to the academy to protect his siblings. Ellie declares she can handle herself, and Barry smirks, teasing her about her height, which leads to a playful spat. Outside, Marie mulls over Count's avoidance. She debates confronting him to clear the air, but hesitates. What if she misinterpreted his behavior and ended up embarrassing herself? Just as she resolves to let it go, she feels a presence nearby. She sees nothing, but decides it's best to head back inside. As she turns, something catches her eye, a slip of paper lying on the ledge. Her breath hitches when she comes closer and reads the single chilling word written on it. Traitor! The stillness of the garden is shattered by the ominous presence Marie felt earlier. The note in her hand feels heavier with every second she reads the word traitor. This wasn't an idle threat. This was a declaration. A bold, terrifying claim that whoever wrote it could harm Brielle at any moment. Marie's mind races. She thought they had eliminated all threats within the Count's residence, but this? This felt like a final warning, an unmistakable signal that the danger still lingered. Her grip tightens around the note as fear mixes with resolve. If she stays silent, she might lose Brielle forever. No more secrets. She has to tell the Count the truth, no matter how much trust is at stake. At the Count's office, Marie hesitates before knocking. Inside, the Count is lost in his own turmoil, guilt swirling in his chest as he reflects on how cold he's been toward her these past few days. Clearing his throat, he calls out that unless it's urgent, she should return later. Marie doesn't wait. Tears streak her face as she steps into the room. The Count rises immediately, his concern evident. Without beating around the bush, Marie hands him the note without a word. The Count takes it, confusion flickering across his face. In a grave tone, the Count questions if Marie has been involved with the people threatening his family, a suspicion she anticipated but still finds painful. Steeling herself, Marie asks if he has ever found her behavior unusual, given his meticulous attention to Brielle's care. Confused but attentive, the Count listens as she presses further, asking if he's ever felt she wasn't the same person he originally hired. The Count reflects on the day he hired Marie, recalling his initial doubts about her suitability as a nanny. Yet Brielle's newfound joy soon eased his concerns, though unease about her seemingly changed demeanor lingered. Now, as she presses him, those suspicions resurface, and he quietly admits he wondered before. With trembling hands, Marie prepares to reveal the truth. What she says next leaves the Count utterly speechless. Her words paint a picture he struggles to believe. This world, his world, is nothing more than a book. The Marie he hired? Gone. Another soul had taken her place, and the original Marie? An assassin sent to kill Brielle. The Count's mind churns with questions. But Marie admits the book's story begins after those events, leaving her in the dark about the motives and the culprits. Seeing her trembling, he pulls her into a comforting embrace, assuring her that she's said enough. For him, knowing the truth is all that matters now. In the Count's embrace, Marie finally feels the weight of her secret begin to lift, overwhelmed by his kindness. She hesitantly asks if he hates her, but the Count reassures her if she had ill intentions, she wouldn't have confessed. Though her story seems fantastical, almost unbelievable even, she leaves no room for him to doubt her sincerity. The Count gently asks for her real name, and she reveals it, Jin Herin. Memories of her old world resurface, the distant figures of her parents, the faint faces of friends, and the regrets she carries. Though not all of them are happy, the yearning to reconnect overwhelms her. She longs for simple moments, laughing with friends, a missed trip with her mother, just one more chance to see them. As she pours her heart out, her tears flow, and the Count holds her closer, silently offering comfort as her sobs begin to fade. Before uttering another word, hurried voices echo around Marie, calling out to her as her world fades into darkness. Marie lies unconscious, with Ellie vigilantly watching over her. It's been 3 days since Marie collapsed, and Barry urges Ellie to rest so she doesn't fall ill herself. Ellie reflects on the strange changes in her sister, recalling how she once claimed she couldn't play the piano despite being skilled, and how she stopped wearing a cherished brooch. Ellie also remembers Marie's declaration of love for the family, including Brielle, which she had dismissed as lies at the time. As she recalls their past, Ellie reflects on Marie's hidden struggles and her facade of happiness. She also recalls Marie's attempts to keep the family united, like making a plush rabbit for her, which Ellie accepted with fear of being abandoned. Over time, Ellie came to see that, despite the changes, Marie was still her sister. But when Marie collapsed, Ellie feared she would lose her forever. Tearfully, Ellie reaches out to Marie, pleading for her to come back, while the Count, overhearing this, sympathizes with her and is reminded of his feelings for his older brother. In the hallway, the Count is approached by a servant, and they discuss the ongoing work that might help them uncover the enemy who's been targeting their family. Meanwhile, Brielle and Mr. Taylor visit Marie's room. Feeling the weight of the situation, Brielle wonders aloud if Marie's illness is his fault, since everyone he loves always leaves him. Mr. Taylor reassures him that it's not his fault and explains to Brielle that some people spread harmful rumors, but he shouldn't blame himself. Brielle, unable to keep his worries inside, writes a heartfelt entry in his diary, expressing his sadness over not being able to help and his desire to grow up quickly to protect his family. He also wishes to fulfill his promise to Marie to visit Erin and go to the market. Brielle wants to stay by her side, but Mr. Taylor gently refuses, knowing that Brielle needs rest as well. With a heavy heart, Mr. Taylor hopes that Brielle's maturity doesn't come too soon. Finally, after 5 days, Marie wakes up, and Brielle, overjoyed, rushes to her side, bringing warmth and laughter back to the mansion. With a bittersweet sense of relief, their troubles seem to pause. At least for a moment, amid the heartfelt reunion. With the enemy still lurking in the shadows, it's only a matter of time before the storm returns. But for now, there's a sliver of peace, and that's something. Cantrell walks towards Marie, who's standing in the yard. A hint of worry is painted on his face. He's worried about what might happen to her after the last incident. He asks her to go inside and take a rest, but Marie laughs it off. She casually caresses his face and looks him in the eyes as she tells him that he's probably the one who needs more rest. He has become so thin. She jokingly tells him that he is so worried about her. Well, Cantrell's worried because she fainted when they got distant. It was as if they were getting apart without him being able to say what he wanted to say. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. By the look in his eyes and the expression on his face, perhaps is he going to confess? Marie expects that he will, but instead of confessing, he tells her that if she finds someone new, he wishes her happiness, as long as she can stay with Brielle until he grows up. This only means something. He still thinks Marie went on a date. Awkwardly, Marie says that she went on a walk with Erin on the day she asked for permission. A dumbfounded expression is painted on Cantrell's face. He looks away and covers his red face with his hands, hiding from embarrassment. Once again, the Count looks at Marie, and he removes his blazer and puts it on her shoulder. Surprised, Marie looks him in the eyes. They're lost within each other's gaze when suddenly, they hear Brielle looking for her. This made her go and spend the day with Brielle and Erin, who are bickering over her. In the garden, Cantrell is drinking tea together with Viscount Jake. The Viscount notes he heard that Cantrell's mansion security is getting tighter than usual, so he offers his help. The Count declines because he can't bring him into this mess. But Viscount Jake points out his stubbornness being the problem, and Cantrell laughs. Still, he knows that if something happens to him, Viscount Jake will be there, and he'll take care of Brielle no matter what. At the end of the day, everything is still unclear. However, he has been narrowing down the suspects of the incident, starting with the people who benefited from his parents' death. Kavrin, the Queen's father. Kavrin is standing in front of the King and Queen as he opens up the news about the Duke's estate, stating that he's worried about his nephew. Suddenly, the King's face turns sour and comments on Kavrin and the Count's relationship, the latter's nephew whom the King sent away to maintain his position. Kavrin could only think the King is bold to exploit this political weakness of his. Seeing the King's face, the Queen tries to cover it up, asking how Cantrell was. However, the King speculates she's just trying to cover for her father, and so Kavrin excuses himself out. The King also does the same and tells his wife she can leave too. Sadness is visible on the Queen's face as she slowly exits the room. Even the servants feel sorry for her. She puts in so much effort to see him after 2 weeks only for this to happen. At the Academy, Siege is so glad to see Barry back, and they talk about the rumors that he heard saying that there was an accident at the mansion and their security is getting tighter now. Barry confirms that something was going on. He even shares that he talked to Cantrell about staying at the house for a year so he could stay by his sister's side. But Cantrell told him that it would be nice if he went to the Academy and pursued becoming a knight. In that way, he wouldn't only be staying by his sister's side, he'd be protecting them too. He hopes that he can get his certificate as a knight so he'll be able to protect Marie and Ellie. The rest of the time, the boys talk about their lives, about how Barry is eager to protect his family, and how Siege feels so suffocated having to deal with succession at home. He's a diligent student, but it seems like he wants to live a low life. Suddenly, Barry jokingly says that since Siege brags about being genius and handsome, he'll try to surpass him one day. However, Siege actually thinks that if there is truly a diligent student between the both of them, it's Barry. However, he is not even satisfied with his own abilities. At first, he really thought Barry was a fallen noble blinded by his ambition. Siege has seen the many things Barry has to protect, understanding why he's urgent on making the country strong. And when Siege visited Barry's home, he felt envious. Meanwhile, Brielle's facing the biggest crisis yet. After Brielle's tutor, Mr. Huget's quit, it got very difficult to find a reliable new tutor. So Brielle's studies suffered a gap. Marie tried to teach the writing herself, but it's not going very well. Brielle cries out loud, saying that the discussion is boring, but Marie tries to talk it out with him, as she makes him remember his promise to not play until he finishes writing 10 sentences. Brielle immediately does his work and quickly calls Ellie the moment he finishes it. It's been months since they're not allowed to leave the mansion, and now the only thing that Marie worries about is Ellie's education. Although it is not as good as the Academy, Ellie used to attend a local school where the neighborhood kids gathered, until they were prohibited from getting out of the mansion. In the bedroom, Ellie suddenly shares with Marie that she dreams of becoming a teacher in the future. Being around Brielle and other kids made her realize how good she is at handling kids, and it also makes her happy. Marie's heart warms at what her sister says, when all of a sudden, Ellie asks if becoming a maid is more suitable for her. That way, she can work right away and even stay in the mansion in the future. The happiness on Marie's face vanishes. She doesn't want her sister to do that. She only wants her to do whatever she wants. Suddenly, Duke Cantrell enters the room. It turns out that he heard what Ellie said and promises the girl that he doesn't want her to worry about those things. He wants her to know that she can stay in the mansion as long as she wants because she's Brielle's friend. Marie shares with him that Ellie wants to be a teacher in the future, which he's really glad to know. He even offers to hire a private tutor for her, but as much as Ellie wants that, she wants to find ways to learn by herself first. After tucking Ellie to bed, Marie can't help but be happy and proud of how much Ellie has grown, and Duke Cantrell can see it. Wondering, Cantrell asks her what her dream is. May it be in her past life or now? With a smile on her face, Marie shares that she had always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, but due to some instances, she became a daycare teacher in her past life instead. Even so, she is quite satisfied her previous dream came true. But right now, all she wants is for the children to grow up healthy and safe. When it's time to sleep, Cantrell watches her heading towards her room, and thoughts about Marie pop into his head. Hoping that if one day she might have a dream that arises from here, he wants to stand by her, whatever it may be. Despite many seasons passing, they haven't found out who the culprit is. In the study room, Marie serves hot cocoa to Cantrell and the kids. Ellie is studying seriously, while Brielle seems to be so eager to go and play on the snow. Contrail compliments Ellie for doing a good job. However, there seem to be some worries on Marie's side. It seems like she's worrying about the same thing again, so Contrail assures her that she doesn't have to leave the mansion and he can teach Ellie on his own. He passed the government exam with flying colors anyway. She'll learn more from him than an academy, too. All of a sudden, the kids hand them their papers as they stare at them waiting for their permission to go out and play in the snow. This leaves them no choice but to agree, and the kids rush out. Suddenly, Contrail touches Marie's shoulder ever so gently, telling her to enjoy the weather too since it's the first snow of winter. Before they can go, the butler calls Contrail and hands him his coat. Contrail accepts it, but instead of wearing it, he gently places it on Marie's shoulders, making her cheeks flush. Suddenly, Contrail looks at her with gentle eyes. His cheeks are slightly red. Suddenly, Contrail says he's got something to say. But before he can even say it, a ball of snow lands at them. It was Brielle! He starts bugging them to play with him despite Ellie doing her best to get out of there. And so Contrail drags Marie to play with them, forgetting what he's about to say. My, what could that be? While cutting up picture cards for Brielle and Marie, Contrail thought that maybe the kids were getting bored inside the mansion, so he thought that it may be nice if they put on a puppet show. Marie wonders if he knows how to do that as well, like playing musical instruments and stuff. And he does, since his original dream was to become a wandering musician. Hearing that from him surprises Marie. She never thought of him being a wandering musician, since in the book he appeared as Dark Shadow Contrail. It doesn't suit him at all, but seeing him playing piano would be reasonable. Suddenly, he asks if she knows how to play piano too, and she does, though Contrail already knows this. Marie shares that where she used to live, she has a lot of access to instruments, and even promises him that she'll let him hear that music when she gets a chance. And so, the puppet show was a success. Ellie and Brielle liked it. Brielle even fell asleep while watching the show. Arranging the props, Marie was about to put away the puppets, but Contrail suddenly held her hands to stop her. It turns out that he has one more show exclusively for her since she's getting bored staying in the mansion. Marie's sitting on the sofa while Contrail's putting on a show. He didn't really know what to say at first, but tried his best. His puppet show was all about a guy expressing his love for a girl who changes his life gradually every day. Those feelings led him to the conclusion that he loves the girl. The girl, regardless of the guy's social status, likes the guy too. Questions linger inside her mind. Was it okay for her to like someone like him? She feels like she can be happy with him. The puppet show ended. It was so good that Marie shed a tear. However, that show for her somehow connects to what Contrail has been asking of himself. Will his and Brielle's future be good with Marie around? OMG, OMG, so when is he really going to confess? As Contrail enters the king's office, the king greets him with a smile. It's been a while since he has seen Contrail since he took such an extensive vacation. The king asks if he's already solved his mansion problem. Contrail just answers yes and then hands out a bulk of papers, urgent matters that need his approval. The king nods, though wondering who's that awkward-looking guy standing behind Contrail. Contrail then introduces him as Bedoul. However, it seems like the king hasn't really heard that name yet. That's because Bedoul is a commoner. His family isn't really influential. Bedoul awkwardly bows as he closes his eyes out of embarrassment while greeting the king. Although he's a commoner, he was the one who acted as a prime minister when Contrail was absent, and Contrail gives him credit for it. Though it's Contrail who did the final confirmation of the papers as per Bedoul. Amazed by what he heard, the king smiles and agrees to give credit to Bedoul for doing such a thing. The king then smiles as he tells Bedoul that since Contrail already confirmed the papers, they can already pass as it is. When Contrail speculatively asks what if he himself tampered with the documents, the king just smiles and says that he's judged him wrong as a person. That cold smile brings chills to Contrail's body. He doesn't know why, but he feels uneasy. But still, Contrail asks if he can reward Bedoul for his efforts. The king agrees to it, but his expression suddenly changes when Contrail plans to give nobility to Bedoul. Contrail just wants to give Bedoul a rightful and deserving position, and prove that Bedoul is someone that the king can trust whenever Contrail isn't around. To the king, it seems like Contrail is speaking as if he's going somewhere. What's more, he doesn't like the idea of turning commoners into nobilities. However, Contrail knows that the establishment of a central authoritarian regime is not yet stable, even when he, as a son of a count, is seated as a prime minister. There's still a lot of opposition from nobles. What the king now needs the most is not nobility, but a trustworthy talent. Although it will be a difficult decision, he will eventually have to accept Badul. After all, it seems unlikely that Kentrell will vacate his position in the future, so he also needs a capable substitute for his position. He looks at the king once again as he explains that by slowly giving Badul the title of nobility, it would be an effective way to show that central power is strong. It doesn't have to be a high title, as long as it's a hereditary position. The nobles won't oppose it that much. The king only looks at him and says that he'll think about it. Inside the carriage, Kentrell is talking with Taylor about preparations for a certain matter, and about Badul's situation. Kentrell thinks that the king will have no choice but to agree to what he proposed, since he can't just let Badul's talent be wasted. But Taylor notes that Badul is already one of Kentrell's men, and Kentrell says even the king thinks he's on his side. Either way, whether he and the king will be allies will be revealed in the investigation that they're currently doing. For the next few days, the palace will be looking for new servants, so they have to make sure that they will send in their prepared personnel by that time. Taylor then asks if Kentrell is sure that the queen might be involved. Kentrell looks at him and tells him that it wouldn't hurt to be suspicious. The queen benefited from the death of his parents and older brother after all, but up until now, it's still unclear to him why Brielle is being targeted, perhaps stemming from a grudge against the Charant family. It could also be related to the incident where his family was framed. Kentrell looks at Taylor once again and tells him that he will provide a list of people for him to look at. He also reminds him to remember to always protect and take good care of himself while doing those things. The moment Kentrell arrives, Marie greets him and asks how his day is. He just replies that it's a usual day. Marie tries to get closer to him, but finds it awkward when Kentrell isn't looking her in the eyes. Questions pop in her mind, like, why is he not looking at her? This made her overthink, thinking that she may not have enough confidence to make him happy. She thinks that she might ruin their lives because of her identity as Marie, and that it'll be better if she doesn't interfere. She said all she could, and it's up to the Count if he's still wanting a connection between them. But all of a sudden, Marie catches up and holds his hand, determined to follow her heart on this matter. Marie looks Kentrell intently in the eyes and tells him that he's lying. Confused, Kentrell asks what she meant by that. Marie repeats that she knows he's lying. He does exactly what Brielle does whenever he's lying. Marie turns around. Her voice has a hint of disappointment as she tells him that he can talk to her whenever he's going through something too, just like how she opens up to him. Otherwise, she won't tell him anything about him either. Kentrell closes his eyes as he puts his hand on his forehead as he realizes that he can't say anything more. He shares how hard his day was, and even tries to label it as a little bit hard, but Marie calls him out on it, telling him not to downplay his experience. Kentrell still can't process how selfless Marie is. He still can't believe that despite being the one who has to experience more hardships here, she still has enough energy to worry about him. Despite Kentrell telling her not to worry about trivial matters, Marie is still eager to know and to help him whenever he's in a hard situation. She just wishes that Kentrell would tell her more about those difficult matters if she's not meddling. Meddling? Kentrell's eyes widen. He had never thought of her trying to meddle in the situation. Also, if she didn't care at all, things could even be worse. And so Kentrell opens up about the people that he has been suspecting to be the mastermind in the incident, the Queen and his uncle. Marie's eyes widened. She wasn't expecting this at all. It turns out that he was suspecting them since they were the ones who benefited the most when his parents and his older brother died. Just like his older brother, his parents were accused of corruption and died in a carriage accident before they can even clear his name. After his brother died, all his authorities were transferred to the Queen's family. It's a power struggle. It could be the king or Kentrell's uncle who aimed for the power of the Charant family and caused those incidents. Marie can't imagine how painful and sad all of this would be if one of Kentrell's relatives was the culprit. She tries to step forward, and all of a sudden, Kentrell puts his hands on her shoulders as he looks at her intently, assuring her that he will protect her no matter what. Out of nowhere, she grabs his pinky finger as she smiles at him, telling him that he should too. He should protect himself no matter what. The next morning, Brielle runs eagerly towards Marie to show his perfect test score. This is so unusual since he seems really motivated now despite hating discussions. Well, it's all because of Barry's letter. Whenever Brielle finishes with his tutors after classes, he runs towards Marie to look for letters that were sent by Barry and spends the rest of their afternoon happily reading them. It's really cute that he's looking forward to Barry's letter every day. While playing, Brielle and Ellie are called by the Count. He introduces Derek to Brielle as someone loyal to him. Marie, on the other hand, is surprised that he's introducing Derek to the kids, especially to Brielle. Brielle is visibly scared of Derek's appearance. However, his uncle assures him that Derek is a trustworthy person. He also explains that Derek will be looking after Brielle from then on. Hearing this, Brielle becomes more scared, thinking something might happen to his uncle. Marie reassures him that this is a preparatory step, since he is now his uncle's successor. In order to gain the young master's trust himself, Derek steps forward to Brielle, introduces himself, and calls Brielle Little Lord. Brielle wonders why he's being addressed this way, so his uncle explains that as the successor, Derek should address him with his title. Marie then jokingly tells him that she will also call Brielle Little Lord. The young master then throws a cute tantrum, not liking the idea very much. LOL, he is just the cutest! Marie then turns to Derek, telling him to take care of Brielle. She certainly believes that Brielle and Derek will get along quite well. Meanwhile, the Count calls Marie, saying he has something to explain. In his office, he reveals that Derek has been working on an investigation he was assigned. The most recent investigation was about Brielle's maternal home. Apparently, he was able to get the last letter sent by Brielle's mother. He is hoping that they will read it together, admitting he doesn't have the courage to read it alone. Before they do, she asks if it's alright if she reads the letter, and he agrees, saying she plays a big part in raising Brielle. As they open the letter, they conclude that it might have been written before Brielle was born. As Marie reads it, she realizes it expresses what parents usually want to do with their child. Marie's tears fall, thinking that she might not be enough for Brielle. However, the Count is quick to reassure her that she's more than enough, and no one can raise Brielle as well as her. This guy is such a green flag all the way! Moving to the very last letter his sister-in-law wrote for Brielle, Marie opens it and concludes that it is meant for Brielle's growth process. However, as she reads further, she is shocked that there's something wrong. She realizes that it describes Brielle's appearance, but it doesn't match the appearance Brielle has now. Could it really be that Brielle isn't the young master? Marie reads the letter, noticing that it describes Brielle as having a mole on his right leg. However, she knows that Brielle's mole is on his left leg. As she continues reading, she wonders if there's a mistake, but the Count thinks that the letter is actually forged. Who could possibly be behind this, and what are they scheming? Night falls, and while lying in bed, Marie can't shake the thought of the letter. Just then, Ellie interrupts her thoughts, asking for a favor. Ellie explains that she wants to go out to properly bid goodbye to a friend who is leaving for a distant place. Marie listens carefully, feeling a sense of gratitude that her sister's friend is writing to her. She responds that she'll ask the Count about it. Then, she asks if Ellie isn't curious about why they haven't been allowed to go outside. Surprisingly, Ellie replies that someone is targeting them. She admits that she once thought the culprit had been caught, but since they're forbidden to leave, she now believes there's more to it. Upon hearing this, Marie pulls Ellie into a tight hug, apologizing for thinking that she is still immature when she's in fact growing up fast. She hadn't realized how much Ellie understood their situation. The next day, as Count and Marie enjoy cookies and tea, Marie brings up Ellie's request. However, the Count insists that they've been restricted from going out. Marie gently explains that it's different now because Ellie isn't throwing a tantrum and understands the situation much better than before. She also considers Derek as a possible escort for Ellie, now that his tasks have been completed. She knows Derek is trustworthy and would be a safer option than anyone else. The Count agrees to Derek escorting Ellie, and Marie eagerly prepares to share the news. Seeing her excitement, he smiles and imagines walking with her someday, but she gently reminds him that they must wait until the culprit is caught. Marie then asks him about the lead on the culprit. He shares that a maid from Brielle's mother's house has gone missing. He suspects the maid might have been the one who tampered with the letter, and he's been looking for her. Afterward, Ellie, excited about going out, is accompanied by Derek to meet her friend. Being herself, Ellie comments on Derek's clothes, saying they look suspicious and that everyone in town is frightened of him. She suggests they go to a clothing store she knows. After shopping, Derek's new clothes make him look sharp. Almost too good. Derek asks if it's okay for him to wear clothes like this, to which Ellie replies with a grin, saying that he looks great and everyone is now staring at him because he looks so good. Talk about the glow-up! Just when I thought he couldn't be more attractive! Hands down to Ellie! While walking, Ellie sees the fountain and thinks of her friend, whom she is supposed to meet there. As she looks around, she becomes disappointed when she realizes that her friend hasn't arrived on time. With Derek's sharp eyes, he tells Ellie that she might not meet her friend at this moment. He then adds that he wasn't expecting anyone to gather around them. Could it be the culprit who's been writing letters to Ellie disguising as her friend? They're in real trouble! Derek instructs Ellie to hold on tight as he scoops her into his arms, ready to dash away on the count of 3. He explains that the store they visited earlier has a back door, and she must run straight to the mansion from there. Ellie can't help but feel worried for him, but Derek reassures her that he'll be fine. His thoughts briefly drift to Marie's whereabouts, but with no time to waste, he begins counting and bolts away as planned. When they reach the store, Derek gives Ellie a final instruction that when she arrives at the mansion, she must inform the people there so reinforcements can be sent. After that, he leaves Ellie alone. However, just as Ellie prepares to run, one of the pursuers blocks her path. Frozen in fear, Ellie doesn't know what to do. Not until her teacher, Duchess, appears like a whirlwind, kicking the man and rendering him unconscious. Relieved, Ellie rushes to hug her teacher before they flee the area together. Duchess really came through like a hero! That night, Ellie was unconscious in her bed, with Marie sitting beside her, unable to hide her worry about what happened. The Count also visits to check on Ellie's well-being. Marie, overwhelmed with guilt, begins to cry, blaming herself for putting Ellie in danger. The Count comforts her, assuring her that the blame is not hers alone, but also his. But he reminds her that this is not the time for blaming herself. I just want them to finally have peace of mind so they can get on with their romance. Is that too much to ask? She also asks about Brielle. He explains that the boy had cried a lot and that he had left him with the butler and tailor to be cared for. The Count then reveals the results of the investigation, that the letter sent to Ellie was a fake and the house where her friend supposedly lived was abandoned. So much guilt, but honestly, who could have known? That letter was a trap. Marie concludes that the attackers may have been attempting to kidnap Ellie to threaten the Count. She thought swiftly to Barry, who might also be in danger on his way home. The Count then suggests arranging knights to escort him safely. As they discuss more about Barry, she suddenly remembers teacher Duchess. She rushes to see him and finds him anxious about Ellie's condition. Marie reassures him that Ellie is fine, though still unconscious due to what happened. Duchess apologizes for arriving late to save Ellie. He explains that he had already noticed Ellie and the Count's carriage leaving the mansion, which he can see from his home downtown, but failed to anticipate the threats surrounding her. Marie firmly tells him to stop apologizing, emphasizing that without his intervention, the situation could have been far worse. Before leaving, Duchess advises Marie to take care of herself and promises that they'll see each other again soon. On a snowy night, as they make their way home, Siege suggests to Barry that they should stop and rest. Though eager to return, the 3 horses pulling them are visibly exhausted from the grueling journey. Barry looks at Siege and realizes his true concern is the wound he sustained earlier. It could worsen if they push on. Not long ago, they had been ambushed by a group of unknown assailants. Strangely, while the attackers had ample opportunities to strike their vital points, they deliberately avoided doing so. This led Barry to suspect that the enemy's goal was not to kill but to capture them alive. In the heat of the battle, Siege was struck in the arm by a sword. The knight, recognizing the overwhelming number of attackers, ordered Siege and Barry to escape while they held the enemy in control. Siege hesitated, torn between following the knight's orders and helping fend off the attackers. As Siege spoke to the knights, one of the attackers seized the moment and lunged at him. The attack narrowly missed its mark, a reminder of the ever-present danger surrounding them. That is too close to death. How much longer can they keep escaping death? Going back, as they rest, Barry wraps a bandage around Siege's wounded arm with care. However, Siege can't help but wonder why Count assigned both an escort and a knight for him, especially when his sister is just a nanny. He answers simply, saying that the Count might be concerned about their well-being. Siege presses further, wondering aloud if the Count in question is the same man who holds the title of Prime Minister of the Imperial Palace, a figure notorious for his cold and ruthless demeanor. Barry, with a firm tone, defends Count, stating that he is deeply kind and takes his family's welfare to heart. Their conversation takes a heavier turn when Siege asks why assassins would target Barry in the first place. Barry hesitates, admitting that he has no answers. While having their brief moment of rest, danger strikes again. The assassins who had been lying in wait attack them. The calm feels like a lie. They're not safe yet. After a few days, back at the Count's mansion, the butler informs Marie and the Count that Barry has finally arrived. Upon hearing the news, Marie rushes to meet her brother and embraces him tightly. She expresses her gratitude that he has returned unharmed, repeatedly asking if he truly has no injuries. Barry reassures her that he's fine, but shifts the focus to Siege, revealing that Siege is seriously wounded and needs immediate attention. Without hesitation, they decide to bring Siege inside to rest and arrange for a doctor to attend to him promptly. Barry curiously asks about Brielle and Ellie, expecting the children to have been the first to rush out and greet him. With that, Marie gently guides him to Ellie's room, and he sees Ellie unconscious. She explains that the young master has refused to leave Ellie's side since what happened recently. She adds that Brielle, overwhelmed with worry, has been skipping meals, prompting her to ask Taylor's help in caring for him. Breaking the silence, the Count asks Barry about their journey. Barry recounts their encounter with assassins just as they were nearing the mansion. The Count listens intently, and then informs him that Siege has been treated but remains in critical condition due to severe blood loss. The grim news cast a somber shadow over the room. As Barry continues sharing their journey, a soft murmur breaks through the tension. Ellie, after being unconscious for so long, utters the word brother, leaving everyone in the room stunned. Just as she attempts to speak further, Barry gently stops her. His voice is firm, yet filled with emotion, as he advises her never to go out again, not even to meet her friend. He shares the fear that gripped him during their journey. Just the thought of losing his best friend and the realization of how close he came to losing her as well. Unable to contain his emotions, he embraces Ellie tightly. Oh, these siblings really love each other so much. After a few days, in another room, Siege stirs slightly in his bed. Though weak, he senses that he's within the Count's mansion. Siege stirs! He's alive, but barely. Siege regains consciousness, and Barry informs him that he can stay until he's fully recovered, as per the Count's request. As Siege eats, he wonders if his family has contacted him already. Barry reassures him that the Count has already sent a letter. He also asks if Barry was badly hurt, but Barry assures him he's fine. Barry also thanks him for his help and compliments his hidden fighting skills from the academy. Still curious, Siege asks why the Count assigned the knights, but Barry remains clueless. Siege can't help but wonder if their families are hiding each with their own secrets yet to be uncovered. Later on, Barry is training again, but Marie worries that it's still too early for him to be doing so, especially after the recent battle. He reassures her that he's fine and playfully suggests that the real problem is Siege, who's watching him train. Siege defends himself, saying he's not injured enough to not watch him train. As they continue, Taylor walks over to them, drawing the attention of both Barry and Siege. Siege recognizes Taylor as the commoner who rose through the academy ranks. Taylor introduces himself and mentions that the Count asked him to investigate the Kaler family. Taylor is disappointed that Siege can't show his skills due to his injury, so he challenges Barry to a sparring match. The match between Barry and Taylor is intense. Ellie watches, impressed by Barry's skills. She comments that he must have trained hard at the academy, and Siege agrees, adding that Barry excels in both defense and offense. After the match, Taylor compliments Barry on his improvement and endurance. Brielle and Ellie rush to praise him, but Barry remains humble. Taylor then encourages Brielle to show his skills, and after some hesitation, Brielle picks up a sword. He starts to demonstrate his sword skills, catching the attention of both Barry and Siege. Siege watches Barry's happy expression, so different from his usual serious self at the academy. He also notices Brielle's joyful demeanor and realizes that Brielle must have received a lot of love growing up, something that Siege has never experienced. Who wouldn't be envious of Brielle? We all long to receive that much love. Ellie thanks him for helping her brother, and Marie expresses her gratitude. Siege is reminded of their first meeting, when Marie was wary of him, just like Barry was at the academy. Siege reminisces on his first day at the academy, where his family background, charm, and talents won him admiration. At first, he was grateful for the attention he never had as a child. But as time passed, he realized that people didn't like him for who he was. They liked him because he was a Kaler. That was until Barry came into his life. Barry's genuine friendship made him feel like he was liked for who he truly was, not for his name. Finally, someone sees the real you, Siege. Barry's friendship is the real treasure here. As their friendship grew, Siege insisted on going to the mansion with Barry, hoping to learn more about the young master. However, people at the mansion were still wary of him. That was until the time Marie expressed her gratitude towards him. For the first time, Siege felt like himself, not just the Kaler heir. The kindness he always longed for was finally real, and it warms his heart. Meanwhile, Derek reports that the attackers who ambushed Barry and Siege had vanished. However, he also found an emblem dropped by one of them during the encounter with Ellie. Though Derek suspected it might have been left intentionally, he wasn't sure. Upon seeing the emblem, the Count recognizes its symbol and orders his contacts to gather information. And why does everything seem to point back to that emblem? Shifting to a less depressing scene, somewhere in the mansion, Ellie plays a guessing game with Siege and Barry. She shows an image for them to guess. However, Brielle correctly identifies it as a dragonfly, which neither of them can see clearly. Ellie reveals it's not just a dragonfly, but a catcher they made last fall, teasing them for losing the game. As the losing team, they must grant her wish. Siege quietly admits that the only reason he started the game in the first place is because he wants to touch Brielle's cheek at least once. Can't blame him, that kid is the embodiment of cuteness. But since they lost, Ellie announced that they were the ones who owed them a wish. They begin to have a piggyback ride through the garden at Ellie and Brielle's request. So adorable. In a while, Ellie sees a treehouse. She asks Barry to lift her up, and Brielle asks the same from Siege. Brielle shares that the Count made the treehouse for him. Siege compliments the Count for his kindness, and Barry warns him not to judge the Count wrongly. Siege then turns to Brielle, playfully poking his cheeks until Brielle gets annoyed. Ellie then complies that it's unfair that she's not allowed to poke the young master's cheeks too. As the night falls, the group heads back to the mansion, where Marie is waiting for them. Barry teases Ellie about being heavy, and she gets annoyed, while Brielle falls asleep in Siege's arms. As Ellie wanders the mansion, she runs into Derek, whom she hasn't seen in a while. He gives her a token of appreciation for helping him choose clothes and apologizes for what happened, and also offers a new gift for her sister. Those gifts are so adorable. He may be tough outside, but he can be a real softie. Ellie wonders why Derek is giving gifts to her sister. What she doesn't know is that Derek is apologetic for still suspecting the nanny for being involved in all of these, hence the gift. Suddenly, she asks Derek how she can protect herself, and he advises her to start by learning to run. Annoyed by his response, she turns to leave. Derek assumes that she wants to learn self-defense because of what happened and offers to teach her, which she happily accepts. Meanwhile, in the library, Marie is looking for a book when the Count enters and offers to help. She declines, not wanting to bother anyone, but he insists. Marie says she's looking for a book on noble family lineages, and Count mentions he has something to discuss. As they find the book, they spot the symbol on the emblem Derek found. Count shares his suspicions about the Queen and the informants he's planted in her palace. Aside from the emblem, no further evidence has surfaced. He also reveals details about the Queen's romance with the King, leading him to conclude that someone is trying to frame her. Marie agrees, suggesting the culprit may be close to the Queen or even the Queen herself. Their conversation is interrupted when the Count's butler arrives with a letter for him. To their surprise, it's addressed to Marie from the Queen's palace. Hold up, what's this? A letter for Marie from the Queen's palace? What's the Queen up to? So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!